Hello, nerds, and welcome to Into the Wild, your favourite wildlife and conservation podcast where we look at all things, well, wildlife and conservation.
This is a podcast of curiosity where we know we don't have all the answers.
Oh, that's my co-host Nadia, by the way.
Hi. But it doesn't really matter because we're here to learn and crucially listen to those who are affected by and closest to the issues that we as conservationists tend to pick over from our comfy living rooms.
So strap yourselves in, open up your luggles, grab a brew, and join us as we geek out over nature, share our love for wildlife, rarely take ourselves seriously, all whilst learning. Oh, and we sometimes swear. Hello nerds, welcome to your week 2 of Nature News, Into the Wild's brand new segment for 2025, where Nadia and I find some recent nature wildlife conservation stories from around the world or in the UK, or very local they might be.
All right, Yoda. I really feel like we had a conversation yesterday about being clever and smart, and I feel like, did you just turn up thinking, how do I make people think that I'm cleverer than I am? Just be
very local. What they I'm just saying that because one of mine today is incredibly local to me.
Or local,
and I was
they
gonna
might
say
be. Well, that's interesting. Yours is so local because mine is from a galaxy.
Well, one of them
is from a galaxy far away.
Oh God, that tickled me. I'm such an idiot.
Do you want to take that one again?
No. Let the world know what I said.
You know what? We're here to give you a weekly dose of news about the natural world, about nature conservation, the environment, and we might choose topics which are from the other side of the world or local they may be.
We might, out of nowhere, suddenly impersonate a fictional character from a film. We don't know.
Hey, let's not make this a bit that comes back.
Let's not make it a bit. No, let's make that a one-off.
So how
anyway,
are you, Ryan?
nerds, this is...
Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, good. I mean, I've not got rib pain.
I know, it is still there.
Yeah.
It is still a little bit swollen as well, but I'm all right. That laugh that I just did probably didn't help.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm all good. Right, Nadia, should we jump just straight into our stories? Should we just find out what you got?
Yeah.
Do you want to go first? Or
Well, I've got a little one first, and I feel like it's important. We've been talking a lot. I think the frosty weather hit all of us, over the last couple of weeks. I think
it did. Yeah.
I think we actually had a bit of winter, and then all of a sudden it just got hot. Like not hot, but it got like 10, 11 degrees, and so
it jumped up in the old
Celsius. It jumped up, and I feel like everyone recognised it. And today, first recording in the British Isles of frog spawn.
No way.
Where? On the Isles of Scilly.
Of course. They would get it first, wouldn't they?
You forget about them, don't you?
Do you know what? I actually do.
Yeah, it's quite far away.
It's almost the Mediterranean, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Have you been?
No, because it's so far away.
No, they don't get frosts, actually. Like, this is why there's quite a lot of, like, tropical-esque plants when you go to the Isles of Scilly, because they're protected from the frost.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. No, it is. It's lovely. It does feel very special. But, yeah, that's it. I feel like now, every week, I'm going to report on the new sign of spring.
I thought you were going to say just frog spawn. I thought you were going to be on, like, frog spawn watch around the UK.
Oh my God. There are now 9,832 sightings of frog spawn.
Keep them coming in.
I think for the second week of January or 3rd, here we go, frog spawn. Here we go, spring.
Here we go, we're here. Okay, that's a nice little one. Oh, shall I do my little one then? My local one.
do your but little bit big.
Little,
do you know what I mean?
But big impact, I think. My little one is Jesus Christ, what's wrong with me today?
I
don't know. My first little nugget of news is that one of the local residents on my street, this is how local it is, it's on my street, right? A few months ago, messaged our neighbourhood WhatsApp group, which I hope everyone listening has a neighbourhood WhatsApp group. If you don't, try and set one up. They can be the most heartwarming, lovely, and hilarious places to get messages. And one guy on there turns out he's been having meetings with our local council, and he requested that we have more trees on our street because he didn't think there was enough. Our council came back and said, actually, your area is above the percentage that we have as our target for green, like greenery around the area, so we can't actually fund anymore. However, if you as a community are able to raise the funds, we will sort out the plantation of all the trees, and you guys can pick them, and as in like pick the species and stuff like that. Anyway, fast forward a couple of months later, we have raised a few grand, which is enough to get 11 new trees directly on our street. So within the next, I would say, 4 to 6 months, we will have some young trees going into our street to give more green cover. So we're now on the community WhatsApp group, on the little neighborhood WhatsApp group. We are talking about what kind of trees we want them to be. A lot of people would like some cherry blossom, which I'm not against because the bees absolutely love cherry blossom. Easy fix. Not going to have large roots that are going to impact the paving, the road, or the houses. So they are quite a good one. And you know, I've suggested like kind of what did I suggest? Rowan, maybe Rowan. Or you, or something like that. Something that produces berries.
Nice. That's such a lovely story.
Yeah.
I'm 100% behind Rowan. I think cherry blossom, when the blossom falls, it creates like a sludge on the pavement, which is frustrating.
It is. But bees do love it, and
bees do love it. They do.
And you know, so it is going to give some
pretty.
food
Nice.
and stuff. But what, you know, I'm saying that because it just shows you how the power of one person is like, I want more, can deliver so much. You know, community is faster than government.
I'm obsessed with this. People just doing things.
Yeah.
But not just doing things, right? Like, I think people don't realise that their democratic power stretches beyond the general election. Your democratic power, your power as a citizen to influence your MP. Go get to know your MP. They have to see you in their surgeries. Tell them what matters to you. Talk to your local council, find solutions, organise, create a community WhatsApp group, decide what you want, do things together. The power that we have as individuals is huge, and I'm massively passionate about it. So this is a really lovely example. Can I ask a question? That sounds like a lot of money for 11 trees. When you're planting in a built area with pavements and things, is it more effort, presumably, than planting like trees in a field?
So I've never done it. So this is kind of new to me. I'd imagine so. They're going to have to remove slabs and stuff like that and maybe prepare a bit of the ground. They did give a rough price of how much it was so it was something like £300-400 per tree to get it in. So I think, it was something like that.
Yeah,
but
we raised think as well, contractors always, charge a little bit. They'll have a standard contractor. But that's really good news. Well
it's
done.
Really nice.
I mean, I know the prices of some of the houses on your street, so I'm happy you've raised it.
Not surprised that the money was raised, right? The other thing, that kind of leads me on to my main chunk, because it's kind of about government, policy, law, legislation, and stuff like that. So I'm going to go straight onto my bigger one that we're going to have a little bit of a chat about. I'll run down some of the main points, and then you and I can have a bit of a chat about it. So, Environmental Watchdog has called out the government, really, saying that this was by the way, I'm taking this from a Guardian article that came out today by Helena Horton, talking about the government and its targets for environmental kind of restoration, really, in England. So Environmental Watchdog has called out the government, saying that they are failing or falling short to stop the decline of England's nature. However, some things Labour setting up have gone well, such as setting up a water commission and writing up environmental improvement plans. They were praised by the OEP. If you don't know what the OEP stands for, by the way, it's the Office for Environmental Protection. This was set up after Brexit to hold the government accountable under the Environment Act 2021, which was to replace the EU laws. Wasn't it so handy that we left the EU and had to set up our own things?
So handy.
Handy. It took so much work, didn't it?
It made getting stuff done easier. Sorry, does our sarcasm translate on this podcast?
I really hope so. Otherwise, people think ill of us. The OEP's assessments found that out of the 43 commitments that the government have, they are on track to succeed in 9. They are partially on track to succeed 12, which, by the way, could I just say, means they're going to fail, but it means they tried and have made some progress, which is pretty much like getting predicted E grade at GCSE. Like, yeah, okay, cool, but, listen more in class. And they're on track to fail 20 of them. The areas where they have actually improved on this is a lot about pollutants, so air pollutants and water pollutants. The OEP chief scientist Robbie McDonald said England's likely to miss its targets for ocean health by having a certain level of ocean health by 2027. He doesn't see that happening. And the OEP's chair, Glenn Stacey, said, with each passing month, the window of opportunity to address environmental harms is closing, while the effort needed and cost to do so increases. The government must act urgently and decisively to catch up if it's to meet legal obligations. Catch up not just by developing plans, but then by fully and effectively implementing them. It has several legally binding commitments only a few years away. The window of opportunity is closing fast. So I wanted to share this kind of news because I think one thing, or my first point, is that I think it is good to know that we have committees like this that are holding our government accountable if they are not, post Brexit, we actually have that system in place that is holding the government accountable and it is being reported on. I think my other point, though, that I want to kind of talk about, though, is that what do we as voters, you and I, Nadia, expect our governments to be doing when they got into office last year? So I've really found, and I'm not saying that the government are doing plenty, let's give them a chance, but I do think like within the first 100 days or 200 days even, what do we realistically expect our government to be achieving in quite a short time frame? You and I have said on the podcast quite a few times before, it's important to think longer term and have long-term strategies in. So what do we as voters and listeners now, have a little bit of a think about it yourselves, what do you expect from our government that have been voted in? Is kind of where I want this discussion to go down. But what are your first reactions on that after hearing that we are, on track to succeed 9, fail, but we made progress in 12, and we will fail probably 20 of our 43 commitments?
Nothing surprises me about that whatsoever. I used to work in environmental policy, so this is, where when I left working, I still think I work in like nature conservation in the broader sense. But when I left officially working for nature conservation, I worked in environmental policy and very much kind of like with DEFRA and Natural England colleagues and, to government. And so it doesn't surprise me. The machine is so insanely complex in terms of processes for introducing law, policies, protections, implementing those. So coming up with an idea, and then who is the body that's got to deliver the idea? Then they've got to learn what their powers are. Then they've got to be empowered as individual to use those powers. And I've totally lost faith, Ryan. Like this is where I'm at, love.
Really?
Like I don't have. I sit in, I've sat in meetings and just been like, oh my God. Like the world is burning, and we're talking about, I don't know. It's just, for me, I can celebrate conversations going in the right direction. I can celebrate things being discussed in Parliament around like river pollution, and we've got to tackle this, and it's not okay, and recognizing that we've got a biodiversity crisis, and recognizing that our environment, I think we're getting to that point that we did with climate change where it's largely accepted our biodiversity and ecological crisis is huge, and we can no longer ignore the fact that the UK ecosystems are degraded to the point of like, oh shit, this is really bad. This isn't just like, isn't it a shame we don't have, red squirrels in England anymore? Like, I think our decision makers recognise that it's big. I don't think they feel it. I don't think they know. I don't think they get it. I think there's two things happening here for me. I'm going to go more kind of probably philosophical. There's two things our politicians don't know it. So they don't know, I would say at large, what it means for our rivers to be polluted with forever chemicals. Yeah. I don't think they know what it means to drive through Lincolnshire and see field upon field of agriculture. And I don't think they're going, God, I'm not seeing butterflies or bees. I'm a bit worried. I don't think
they're not being punched in the gut enough with it.
Because they haven't met them and they don't know the wildlife.
Yeah, it's such a good point.
And I don't think they've got And I think if they felt like you and I did, and presumably a lot of our listeners, they would have the integrity to be seeing harder things. The second point is that for me, it seems to always be about creating new protection zones and new laws. It's not about stopping the polluter. It's never about like, let's stop dredging. And then we don't need any more policies about setting up marine protection zones. Just stop
that's
it.
actually an interesting point you said that, because the OEP also said that the previous government set up new marine protected areas. However, dredging was still happening and stuff like that. And they said we're getting to that point where that can't happen now. That's the rule. Don't worry about new marine protected areas or things like that. We need the damaging activity to come to an end. That's what we need. The space is there. The space is, we don't need new boundaries. We don't need new limitations. We need stopping of damaging activity.
Look, COVID gave the government emergency powers overnight to legally mean we had to stay in our homes. If it was that, if people understood, where I live on the Isle of Bute, someone said the other day, I don't understand why there's not a good seafood restaurant on the Isle of Bute. It's an island that's accessible and tourists come to it. Why isn't there a seafood restaurant? There's no seafood in the Clyde. So there's no one that can go and get lobster, scallops, fish.
Yeah.
The reason why you have seafood restaurants on the coast is because it's locally fresh fish and people feel good about that. Yeah. We can't fish here because there's nothing left. My uncle came and scuba dived, and he scuba dived here on the Clyde, and he was just like, the ocean floor there's nothing there.
Oh God, it's so sad.
And so, like, our MPs are they saying that? Does that feel urgent? Because I reckon there are probably emergency powers that will go, sorry, we're just not going to fish in these waters, and we're not going to dredge. And actually, sorry, absolutely tomorrow there is a zero tolerance on poultry farms runoff going into rivers because we've lost our ecosystem in our rivers. Like, no, sorry, water companies, you don't get to use the emergency provision of not treating sewage and just pumping it out into the rivers anymore.
Yeah. Don't take your dividends this year. Sort it out.
So I feel like I need to talk about these two things separately. Is the government increasing its conversation and rhetoric around policy for nature protections? Yes, it probably is. Is it making a real world difference on nature being protected and restored? No. Okay, so I want them to be two separate things.
No, I think it's a very good point you make, and I think the philosophical side you actually brought up there is actually probably one of the most important points of this whole conversation, because if you're not feeling it emotionally, are you going to be putting your all in to actually get to the root cause of the issue? Probably not. Are you going to be box ticking certain things or going, we can fail 20 of our targets and it doesn't matter? Are we that? And that's why we're at where we're at. I mean, the data speaks for itself, really, doesn't it? That if they're not feeling it, that's why we're only on track to succeed 9 out of 43. So,
and it extends beyond that, right? Like, our MPs aren't working class people on the whole, and so when they are getting statistics around the amount of children in poverty or the amount of people out of work or the amount of people on benefits, because they don't know what it is to feel that. Again, there's no urgency around fixing these problems. That's my opinion.
No, I think
if you became an MP, Ryan, you'd get it. You would be hurt by.
I'd fail in a lot of areas, but I tell you what, I really hope to think that I could set some good. Can you imagine me around
in Parliament,
Prime Minister's question time?
Yeah. All right, Gov.
All right. I mean, that's what they're like anyway.
What's that thing that Cockneys do where it's scary when you're nice?
Oh yeah, the nicer you talk, the scarier it is.
That's what I want you to be.
All right, Keir, good point. No, you had a good point. That's fine. Don't worry about it. We'll have a little chat afterwards, shall we?
That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Hey nerds, sorry to interrupt the show. It's Ryan here. I just wanted to pop on to tell you something quick. We always want Into the Wild to be a free and accessible show, but it does cost to run this thing. So if you ever have any spare pennies or pounds and you want to chuck it towards your favourite nature, wildlife and conservation podcast, then you can do so by going to www.ko-fi.com/intothewildpod. The link is in the write-up of this episode. Anything you're able to give goes straight back into the shows we produce. Anyway, I'll shut up now. Back onto nature news.
So I guess linked to that, again, it's all about politics. It's all about what is the government doing. People will probably have seen this week all over the news, but also the respective wildlife conservation Twitter accounts. I can't say it because I'm not on it and I know it doesn't exist anymore. But on social media, is all about beavers.
Yes.
It was reported this week in The Guardian that the Labour government have blocked. Well, Number 10 has blocked progress.
Put dams up.
Put dams up. Damn it! Have put dams up to introducing new legislation policy around making beaver reintroduction way more taking away layers and layers of bureaucracy to allow beaver reintroduction to happen on lots of different nature reserves with a simpler, streamlined process. I have had, if you get to the end of this article, the last line is that Number 10 absolutely refutes this and says that this is not the case. I've also heard from other people that this is not the case. And so I think...
By the way, everything above is not true.
I mean, I heard a rumour that they were blocking this. And then what happens is all of the other outlets, all of the other newspapers report on that article. So I would take this one with a pinch of salt. My sense actually is that the Labour government, my sense from my sources, is that Labour government actually, do want to actually, it would be a really stupid U-turn, I think, for government.
Where's this rumour come from, though? Is this...
Beavers are an easy win.
Is it just a misunderstanding?
I don't know. It's just, the reporter had a source. And I mean, it's fine. I think these things happen. I think, when you read an article like that and then at the end it just say someone else has said that this is not the case.
Yeah.
It's, I think my sense is from all other things, from what Steve Reed said, just from noises from government and from actions and things moving forward, beavers will get the green light, I think, to be introduced. But, it does highlight what we were saying earlier, is that wildlife is a bit of a political football still, of just like, I don't know, it just feels so emotional for me to...
When you say they get the green light, does that mean that the process into getting beavers back in the wild is going to be a lot easier?
Yeah, so I guess this is the policy that had started in the Tory government that's been being worked on, is that actually the applications. So what it's saying for in England is that nature reserves can release them without the whole pen structure.
Right, nice.
So this is what it's all about, is actually making beaver reintroduction.
That's such an easy win.
Do you know what though? What? I did a little bit of reading before coming on today, and it looks like I know 3 separate people who have messaged me over the last 2 years going, I've just found evidence of beavers on my local river. Like, they are everywhere.
Oh, yeah, I mean, they're already there, but at least this will be more legal.
So the report I said there's probably about 600 in England. That's a lot of beaver.
That's quite a lot for something that's not meant to be in England.
But I also read that farmers do shoot them as well.
But this, yeah.
I can believe all these things.
All these things are true at the same time.
What, as well, I read? Well, they became extinct about 400 years ago, and this is because of persecution, and they were hunted to extinction for their pelts. You don't see any legacy beaver coats, do you?
No,
like in antique shops or anything.
What? Oh, right, no.
You don't see anything made out of beaver.
How often are you in an antique shop in England?
Oh, quite regularly. I never go past an antique shop.
Quite regularly?
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
I know you're in charity shops a lot, but...
No, I never go past an antique shop.
As in you won't go past without going in?
Yeah, I go in them for inspiration, think, well, that's nice. Oh, yeah, 500 quid. I'll find.
Should we put a call to action for anyone listening now that's in England? If you go past an antique shop, just keep your eyes peeled for a beaver pelt.
You never see anything made out of beaver.
No.
You see mink coats and you see fur coats.
Yeah, but saying that, 400 years ago they went extinct.
Yeah, maybe.
So 400 years
maybe
to
they
keep
didn't make
a pelt
coats.
is a long time.
Maybe they were made into something else that isn't worn today.
Yeah, like mittens.
Or like ancient wetsuits.
Ancient wetsuits.
On that note.
Okay, so that's interesting that these articles, it's kind of a weird bit of news, isn't it? Because it's in the news, but don't trust it. That's our point, basically.
that's my hot take for us this week, is that it is in the news, but I do think when it comes to like big... do you know what? Beavers are emotive. Lynx are emotive, like it was last week. I think when it's big things like this, I just think it's useful to, consider where it's coming from. Is it true? I think beavers will be fine. And also, they are the least of my worries.
Are they?
I think so. I think beavers are going to be fine in England. Like, I'm not worried about them spreading and...
What's in the top of your worries?
Oh,
Let's not unpack that.
It is pesticides is the top of my worries.
Is it? Beavers
Yeah.
at the bottom, pesticides at the top.
Yeah. What about
Wow.
you?
I don't think I'm emotionally prepared to answer. I think at the moment, the top of my worry is just the climate crisis.
Yeah.
Like, I'm seeing a lot of weird seasonal change. I think that's at the top. At the bottom of my worries, I would say probably, I don't know, my average dart score is probably at the bottom. I'm not really worried about that.
Okay. So if we're talking broader than nature, which is what I
were
thought
you
this
specific
podcast
with
was
nature?
about.
No, you just said my worries. At the bottom of I would say probably capybara. I don't really worry about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Particularly in the
seem
UK.
to be nailing it.
Particularly in the UK context, and meme-wise, very popular.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Everywhere in every wildlife collection in England.
Isn't that funny? You and I both picked a large rodent to be at the bottom of our worries.
It's the bottom of our list. Anyway, nerds, that's it from this week's Nature News. Thanks for tuning in. As always, check us out on Instagram and Blue Sky. Whatever platform you're listening on, we would always appreciate a review, and any pennies you can chuck our way to Into the Wild at kofi.com/Into the Wild pod. Please chuck it that way. All links in the bio to news stories and social medias and blah, blah, blah. But until next week, have an enjoyable weekend, and we'll speak to you soon.
Bye.